Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Last week saw the arrival of patch 7.3.5 to the servers, the last major patch of this expansion, and it brought with it level scaling. Now if you followed any of my leveling videos or discussions which I've done about it on stream, to me, I don't mind it either way. To be perfectly honest with you, I've got a lot of high level characters. There's no real plan, look at the title of this video, to do any leveling. But I see some tweets from Mike at Bellular, and there seems to be a proportion of the community that is complaining about it. Now, just on a very superficial level, I'm not going in depth, just on a very superficial level, if the world scaling makes the leveling experience more engaging and fun, whatever fun may be for people, experience, then fine, brilliant, great. But from what I gather, some people are really complaining about how it's affected the Ironman challenge. And I think more specifically from level 60 onwards, complaining that there's a massive jump in difficulty level. Now, I've done the Ironman challenge before, and the Ironman challenge has been around for years, and it's something I have followed with other people. And from what I can gather, because I personally haven't ever got to level 60 odd, there is a huge jump in difficulty when you actually get to Hellfire Peninsula anyway. So I'm not quite sure about the argument here. So what I decided to do, and as I said, I had no plans to do any leveling. I thought, screw it. Let's do another Ironman challenge. Let's see if we can push things on. Now, I've got my dice here, so we can do some random stuff. And I've got my handy cam, which I used to record me banging your mum. And as you can tell, there's only going to be 10 classes that we can select. Can't choose Death Knight, can't choose Demon Hunter. Hero classes start much later. And obviously, you can't roll a 1 on 2 dice. So what I'm going to do is, if I roll double ones, 2. Warrior is going to be 2. Paladin, 3. Hunter, 4. Rogue, 5. Priest, 6. But because we're going to have a spare number, I'm going to throw in a lucky number 7. So if I roll a 7, I choose whatever class I want. Obviously, going to go Hunter or Warlock. So Chamois, 8. Mage, 9. Warlock, 10. Monk, 11. Druid, 12. So let's get my slow down. It's enough portal for everyone. So let's get my cam out so you can actually see the live roll recording. Roll 11. Monk. Okay, I'm going to roll again. If I roll even, I'm going to be Alliance. If I roll odd, I'm going to be Horde. 4, it's even. It's a 3 and a 1. You can trust me on these ones. I ain't going to dick you. So it's going to be Alliance. And I might as well just choose my own race. I mean, I don't know how to personally generate this. So we got what? Monk, Human, Dwarf, Nelf. Yeah. Gnome. Draenei and Worgen, because in this world, pandas don't exist. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, 1 dice then. 1 human, 2 dwarf, 3 Nelf, 4 gnome, 5 Draenei, 6 Worgen. 5 Draenei. Oh my lord. Oh my god. So hold on, switch back to Monk. So Draenei, Monk. Bollocks. Big sack of balls. Right, so I've loaded up the character. I have fiddled with my UI, so I want it the way that I want it. And now it's time to kick things off. So, for the people who do not know, and I've just realised I haven't got auto loot on. For the people who do not know, the Ironman Challenge has a very specific set of rules. So I'll just go through them very briefly. Number one, you cannot wear greens, heirlooms, blues, rares, legendaries. You can only wear greys or whites. That is it. Sounds a bit racist, but that is it. That's all you can wear. You can't put on any other pieces of gear. You can't pick up any professions, nor can you select a specialization either. You have to just do with what you are given, and that is it. On top of that, you can't use food. You can't use potions. You can't use anything to aid you, elixirs. You can't go into dungeons, you can't group up with people, and you can't get people to come and help you, inverted commas. You have to do things as raw as possible. And so it becomes very evident early on with the Ironman Challenge that although you can go through the first few levels with pretty much ease, that once you get to a certain area, you have to be so careful. Now, one thing that I will say about the level scaling and what it has taken away, and this is actually one of the reasons that interested me in actually doing the Ironman Challenge again, is the fact that what people used to do with the Ironman Challenge is they used to stay in a zone even though they'd out-leveled it for as long as possible, doing your green quests and all those kind of things to just give you those extra bits of experience to push you upwards, instead of going straight into another zone and starting to level because you are the level of that zone. These were just little tricks that you could do. I say tricks, I use the word loosely. Little tricks that you could do in the Ironman Challenge to try and get as high a level as possible before moving on. Like it would be almost suicide to go to Hellfire Peninsula at level 58. It would be crazy and stuff like that. So we have got 5 or 6 vials for the first quest. And yeah, I don't expect much resistance early doors, so probably scooch some footage on. So far, so good. Cruised my way through to level 5, no difficulty whatsoever. Of course, I'm doing the early bits where pretty much everything is neutral and non-aggressive, so you can select your fights and fight with safety and security in the early part. It hasn't yet dawned on me, because it is just the first few levels, about how the level scaling will come into effect, of course, because I've realised that even to start with, I still have the mentality of clicking onto mobs. What level are they? What level are they? How many levels above me are they? Are they below me? You know, so I've had that mentality already, and I know it doesn't really matter in the early stages, but it has been an interesting mode to get into, because this is what, of course, we've had for so long. So to break out of that might take a little bit of time. But I'm coming up to the Azure Watch, which is your first major hub on Azure Isle, and I do like it's actually I don't mind doing the Draenei. In actual fact, I'm rather liking it. It's been a long time since I have done any questing around here. And although questing, like I said, isn't my particular bag, I suppose I'm slightly lucky as well, if that is the word to use here, because I don't have a top level monk. So although, even if I'd selected a different class, a rogue, a mage, a priest, a warlock, a hunter, I could go on, a warrior, I could go on and on. These are classes which I have pushed to top level. Monk, I've never been interested in a monk. That's no disrespect to monks out there, don't get on your high horse. Just never interested me as a class. So, at least I am in a fresh-ish area playing a fresh-ish class, which is all a little bit weird. A couple more things to add to the things that you can and can't do in the Ironman challenge. I'm going to have to look about regular food. I've got a feeling you can use regular food, just not buff food. But if the food is white, I think you can use that out of combat. But I'll have to do a check on that. But as regards to money, obviously you can't accept money from people. However, with the money that you have earned, you can use the auction house. So if you want to go onto the auction house to try and find some gear to purchase, you can do that, as long as the gear, of course, that you are purchasing is within the legal limits. Otherwise, you might just get arrested. And what I will say is, for long time viewers of my channel, as I'm about 5.5 years old now, this YouTube channel, I recorded a video back in 2012, I believe, where when warlocks got on their dread steeds, they could ride on water. And I do declare that it was filmed here, or certainly around this area on the Azrumist Isle. And I think it's here that I actually did that segment. If somebody finds that video and puts it up there, that'd be quite interesting. So again, so far so good, no problems. Let's just keep pushing forward. I gotta say, I love quests like this on the Ironman challenge. They're the safest quests you can possibly get, where it sends you on a mount to go to a capital city to hand some stuff in, and then takes you back, and it rewards you pretty nicely with a chunky bit of experience points. I'd like some more of them. Thank you very much indeed. These quests that I've got here as well, they are pretty safe. Nice ways to start off the Ironman challenge. Because although I'm hunting down stags and I'm hunting down these root trappers, they are, again, both neutral. So they shouldn't, in theory, pose too many problems for me. On top of that, I've got some nice maneuverability now with the monk as well. First of all, just completely away from that, the blackout kick is a great addition, because now, of course, I'm building up my chi, and I can actually do a nice big punch, which some other classes can't do. So the monkey's punchy, which is good to know. Whee. I saw that and I thought alliance, but my god, I could have been walking into a trap. There. So the monk actually has a good bit of punch. No pun intended. Well, maybe. Bit of a dad joke. Sue me. Which is good early doors. But maneuverability-wise, of course, I've got the roll. So you get the roll early doors. So the monk actually has a lot of great utility early. And how that's going to stack up later on. If you followed my videos with Danger Dolan, where we did the Copperman challenge, where we were essentially doing the Ironman challenge, but we were doing it together. So we called it the Copperman challenge. I actually rolled a monk there. But it's been so long since DD and I actually did that. We are technically still alive. But it's been so long since DD and I did that. I cannot, for the life of me, remember anything about monk gameplay. But early doors, it's clear to see. Very nice, very punchy. should do alright. So here we go. We have our first red. Our first aggro. Aggressive mob. So this is where the Ironman challenge takes a distinct turn. Everything so far, of course, has been neutral and very easy to negotiate. But now, when you get into the areas where you do have aggressive mobs, this is where you've really got to start paying attention. Now, I'm not trying to play this bit up. This, in theory, should be okay. Should be nice and easy. Mobs are spread around quite nicely and not compact. I'm talking about a general rule of thumb with the Ironman challenge here. I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make with the Ironman challenge is they get too confident. And they think they can take on everything. But suddenly you realise that if you pull one, that's fine. Well, you know, and even that later on can prove to be competitive, for sure. But if you think you can, I can just nip in here and sneak this one, and then you pull in a secondary mob, potentially a third mob, that's when Ironman challenges, that's when they go bye-bye. Like here, for instance, I was just about to try and pull this one here, but look how the one next to it has got a lot closer. That could have proven to be just a little bit of a heart-fluttering moment. So, the safest course of action with the Ironman challenge, if you're genuinely serious about the Ironman challenge, the safest course of action is to just not ever take risks. There is absolutely no point in taking a risk. If it looks like it's a bit dodgy, stay back. See how things start to materialise. If you genuinely think you can get in and grab it, and then, well, you know, you're taking your life into your own hands there. But even early doors, didn't want to risk hitting them both. Chances are I wouldn't have had any trouble. Why? Number one, I'm doing pretty good damage this early doors against these type of mobs. And I've also got my Gift of the Naru heal to call upon. So the chances are I would have got out of that, no problem. But it's just the mentality. It's like playing cricket, if you're a British person. It's like playing cricket. I used to play a lot of cricket in my youth. And cricket was all about concentration. The moment you lapsed in concentration, especially as a batsman, those were the times where you inevitably got out. I still want to bring that same mentality to the Ironman challenge. Another little tidbit of help for anyone that's possibly thinking about doing something like this is hand in your quests regularly, especially if it's looking like a quest could push you to a level up. There's no point holding on to quests at all. It doesn't do you any good, because ultimately, if you've completed a quest and it's in your quest log and you haven't handed it in, it's 0 EXP reward. So don't be afraid to just take some time out to say, do you know what? I'm actually going to go up here. Instead of going to this quest here, I'm actually going to go up here and I'm going to hand in these 3 quests here, and then I'm going to carry on for a bit. That could push me on and knock me across to level 8. There's no pressure. I mean, I'm doing this as a video series now, but if you're doing it on your own, there's no pressure to entertain anybody. There's no pressure to make sure that people aren't bored or anything like that. The only pressure should be you on you and your decision-making processes about what you do in an Ironman challenge. And I'm not necessarily speaking about it from the position of early doors, where of course it doesn't make huge amounts of difference. But I'm going back to what I just said before about building good habits, concentration. And when you build up good habits, then it just aids you. It's that, again, it's that lack of concentration. It's when you let your guard down. Oh, I've got 6 quests completed, but there's just 1 on the quest log. I know mentally it's something which gnaws at us, as RPG players, you're just like, oh no, I've got to knock off that uncompleted quest. I must have a row of completed quests before I hand them in. Not when it comes to the Ironman challenge at all. When it comes to the Ironman challenge, it's all about staying alive. And in which case, you have to absolutely make sure you do what's best for you. So sure, I'm purposely taking a little bit of a trek out my way to hand these quests in. But like I said, it's all about trying to make sure that you develop those good habits. And now, when I go hand this one in over here, the likelihood is at 94%, that's going to tick me over and I'm going to go to level 8. So I'm just heading to hand this quest in. I went down to the bottom right to complete this, and that of course is going to drop me now to level 9. And I turned the camera off. I'm turning it on and off and just recording bits here and there, and as you can see from the video, you know, fast forwarding and all that kind of jazz, trying to make it visually nice. And I actually got into my first bit of difficulty of the day. And I couldn't turn the camera back on because it was one of those moments where I actually had to just totally concentrate on what I was doing. And what happened was, over in that bottom right-hand corner, there were a bunch of Venture geologists and whatnot. And they actually were a level higher than me. And they were aggressive. And then on top of that, I actually pulled 2 at the same time and didn't realize that when I don't have the protection of anything but regular nonsense like this, I was taking a wee bit of damage. And I dispatched the first one, and the second one I was about 50% of the way through its health when I realised that I personally was... Whoa, we got a... Ooh, that's nasty. Don't like glitched mobs. Oh, that's interesting we caught that. Don't like glitch mobs. They can cause trouble. Yeah, I was about 50% of the way through its health when I realised that I myself, my screen glowed red. And I was like... So I double rolled out, chucked an infuse on myself and a gift of the Naru. And of course I still keep hold of my energy. And by the time they caught back up with me, my health was okay. I had plenty of energy to strike, so I could just go bang bang and finish it off. But not a massive flutter. I'd be lying if I said it was a huge heart flutter. But it was one of those moments where you're just like, oh, shit. oh. It's one of those moments. And that just, once more, harkens back to what I've said all video about concentration. That is the epitome of the Ironman challenge. And even early doors, it just takes one lapse of that concentration and it is over. So yeah, first little flutter, but managed to get through it. Wouldn't want to repeat it though. Right, so 98% of the way to level 10. Quest is to kill this warlord. Seen a few people come in and out of this area. But thankfully, I don't have to really hold back. If there was like one person attacking it, I'd jump in there and finish it off. You're not teaming up by purpose. You're just teaming up on accident. But if there was like 3 or 4 and there was like 3 or 4 people kind of hanging around, then I probably would have held back and just waited to deal with it. But I've dealt with treacherous gnomes, naga, fishing, not physically fishing because you can't pick up any professions, but throwing nets on fish, killing a bunch of animals for no good reason. As level 10 starts to dawn on us. But the experience has been fine so far. And I know this is video number 1 of the series. And I know you shouldn't have too many troubles within the first 10 levels. But so far it's been absolutely fine. And of course with the level scaling, everything is just keeping up pace with you. So it doesn't matter if you go here, you know, here, there. Wherever you go, whenever you come back to complete quests, to do quests, those mobs that might have been level 6 when you picked up the quest will be level 9 if you're level 9 when you go back there, or possibly even 10. Or maybe 8, but they'll be there or thereabouts. And so the level scaling, I think so far, has actually helped a wee bit in as much as early doors, because things are scaling with you, your experience levels have been pretty decent, and it's felt as if it's a decent process. But because this is the Ironman challenge, I cannot select a spec. I just have to use what is given to me, and that is it. Whee! So I took a wee bit of a detour, and I dealt with a totem here, which took me to the totem here, which then took me to another totem here, which then enabled me to complete another quest, giving me 2,350 experience as a reward, and taking me now up to 85% of the way to level 11. I do have the coming of age quest to take me essentially to Exodar and move myself forward into the Azeroth map. But I think, before I do call things a day, I'm going to head up north and deal with this Still Pine Hold business. Although the world's scaling, and so it really doesn't matter, what I want to do is I just want to make sure that everything on this isle is taken care of, because this isle is the starting zone, and it's probably the safest area that I could possibly be right now. So the more quests that I can do, the better. The more experience I can gain, the better. And obviously, the more abilities that I gain through the leveling up is just going to do nothing but help me when I go forward into Azeroth. So as I arrive here, one thing that I have noticed is I haven't set my Hearthstone to Azure Watch, which I really should do. It's still set to the crash site, and that's another thing. With your Hearthstones, make sure when you get to a new area, you set your Hearthstone to it. Especially if you're going out there and you're getting yourself into difficult situations in the world. Or at least putting yourself into positions where you could get surrounded on all sides. There's nothing worse than getting surrounded in an Ironman challenge. It just, to be quite honest with you, causes you to panic. So if you have your Hearthstone, you can go into an infested area, sort out the infested area, and then just pop back down to base. Lovely jubbly, no harm, no foul. You've escaped the trap, and you can just get on with stuff. And also, make sure that you get rid of as many pieces of crap in your bag as possible. Now, I'm going to hold on to the linen cloth, because I do believe that you can learn first aid. You can learn first aid, and therefore you can use bandages to help you. I just want to get a confirmation on that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. So I'm going to hold on to those linen cloth, learn me some first aid, craft me some bandages, and at least I'll have some additional support. Yeah, got infused. Yeah, I got a gift of the Naru. But, you know, bandages also help, especially if you don't want to use up any of your energy and whatnot. Okay, cam on, mic on. We just got ourselves into a little spot of trouble there. I was backing myself up to try to pull the main mob away from the other Murlocs. Unbeknownst to me, Murlocs were spawning behind me. If you saw the image before, they weren't there. So I was backing myself, look, coming out of the water as well. I was backing myself up, and they were coming either out of the water or spawning back behind me. And again, I've got to pull this one just a little bit further away. So I got myself into a tricky situation. That was I was just doing some recording to do some more fast forwarding through, but that got not too bad. I managed to do the double roll away. It felt relatively okay, as long as I had those 2 charges a roll. But my God, you just have to stop for a moment. You just have to lower your concentration levels for a split second. And even the easiest of areas, at least in appearance only, can throw something up at you which you're not entirely comfortable with. So if I can just grab one more grain, I think I'll be relatively happy to let these Murlocs be. So these are the areas when you're doing the Ironman challenge that I hate. And these are enclosed areas. That little heart flutter that I had with the Murlocs was nothing really at the end of the day. I was in the outside world. I've got maneuverability with the rolls, and I can get out of trouble with relative ease. And especially in early instances, sure, you can roll and get out of there. You should be okay. But these are the areas which get you. These internal areas which funnel you down certain avenues. And there's nothing you can do. You have to go in if you want to do these quests. So I very methodically took myself in there. And if you saw the fast forward, that fight against the 2-headed Cerberus or whatever, that was probably the toughest fight I've had so far. Nothing that I thought I was going to die in, but when you are using your heal spells during an actual fight and you're only level 11 or so, then you are kind of thinking, oh lordy, are we already getting to that time where things are starting just to pick up a wee bit on the difficulty levels? And again, because of the level scaling that we're going to have now, as opposed to the static level, these mobs might have been slightly lower before, I'm not exactly sure. Or at least when you're doing areas like this, as mentioned at the beginning of the video, you start to break down your quest log. There were yellow quests, and then they become green quests. And you still hammer those green quests to get those additional little bits of experience. But when everything's scaling, the higher that I get, the higher that they get. And if I'm not adding anything power-wise to myself, and if I'm not adding anything spell-wise to myself, then the scales start to tip a little bit more in their favour. So far, I like that. I think this is going to be a really, really tough attempt at the Ironman challenge, but I'm up for it. So I've headed back down to Azure Post, and the only quest now that I have is the one that's going to take me outside of the Exodar. And then I think if memory serves me correctly, it's been a while. Then I'm going to start moving into Blood Mist Isle. So I think this is the perfect time to call it for today. I've been going for approximately 4-ish hours, I think. 3 or 4 hours. So got myself to level 12. Only a couple of moments that made the old palpitations go a bit quicker than they should. But very, very nice reminders that when it comes to the Ironman challenge, if you want to go far, you've got to take it seriously and you've got to be prepared and you've got to, that big C word again, concentrate. So there we go. The first video in the Ironman Challenge 2.0, the scaling, has begun. And I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Those links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.